Hello. So, I've had multiple attempts at this and I've been failing a lot. But this is part 2 of Null, the quirkless hero. I'm doing the scriptless as a little challenge, and honestly, these intros are just trying to get shorter. Alright, let us commence. Hello, and welcome to part 2. Last time we left off with quite a tragic scene. Midoriya asking that one-word question, why? Katsumi was scared. She didn't want to hurt him further. She did it. He doesn't want to be a hero anymore. But the cost, it was quite great. She almost lost the love of her life. Was it really worth it? Katsumi couldn't answer, and that made Midoriya angry. And Midoriya was trying to get an answer off of her, but she just kept on sobbing. She couldn't stop crying, and it angered Midoriya further. It angered him that he couldn't die in peace, nor that he could be left alone. And now he can't get an answer off of Katsumi. So his rage is at almost a breaking point. And so he leaves. He leaves saying, I hate you, Katsumi. I don't want to see you again. He slammed the door and left. Katsumi in tears. They burst. They weren't any regular tears anymore. They were tears of depression, of sadness, of regret, of what she did. But really you can't go bad. This story's gonna get better from now on. For the minimum, it's still gonna be quite depressing. But now, since it was the last day, we're gonna do a little time skip. So, 1 month before the entrance exams, Midoriya has learned multiple ways of combat. He's actually been training before this whole incident. He's always been training, been building up his muscles, but he really hasn't learned combat. So he starts doing martial arts and many other fighting styles, which actually he learns really fast. I'll give him a little buff. It's not a quirk, but he's kinda like Taskmaster, where he learns something by watching it. He has really good memory, and he learns really easily. But it's not a quirk, it's just him being a bit more advanced than any other human. And so, Katsumi has trained as well, not as eagerly as she does in canon. She's depressed over that incident. She's tried multiple times to talk to Midoriya, but he keeps closing her door. Until one day Midoriya had it, and he moved. He didn't move out of state, he just moved a couple blocks, just to disorient Katsumi, and so he would stop getting bothered by her. And that left Katsumi worse. He lost her chance. She can't find him anymore. He doesn't know where he lives. You may be wondering, what about Inko? Wouldn't she tell Mitsuki? Well, that's why I said Izuku moved, not Inko. Izuku decided to live off on his own. Inko was sad, but agreed. She found out of what happened, and it was quite the bad thing. Quite a lot of scolding. But things went one and another, and he got moved. Now, let's move to the entrance exams. So, the practical. It's extremely easy for Midoriya, since he is quite the smart person. He could really only study at school. He had nothing better to do except get bullied by Katsumi. And so, he moved on to the practical version. Now, at the gates, Midoriya was not nervous. He knew what he was doing. He learned his combat. He learned how to use gadgets. I'm gonna downright say it, he's going to be like Batman, but without a no-kill code. And so, begins the practical side of the exam. He actually deals with the robots way easier than in Kanon. He has learned combat, he has built up his muscles, he has quite the tip-top shape in his human physique. And so, he simply is taking out robots, not many points, not like an exaggerated. Let's say he's at a solid 60 points. That is enough to get in 1A. But he's also been gaining rescue points since he still saves people from some surprise attacks of robots. So he's at a solid 100. And he decides to stop because he's starting to get exhausted. He is just human. He's not going to be like in those other stories where he racks like hundreds of thousands of points. It's just a reasonable amount. Alright. Now, here comes the 0-pointer. He sees the 0-pointer and he knows he can't deal with that. But then he hears a voice in the rubble. A familiar voice indeed. Her name is Ochako Rakaka. Familiar to us, but not to our main protagonist. And so, he knows he can't deal with the robots, so he quickly goes, takes her out of the rubble, and runs. Only to look back to see a person jump up to the robot and punch it hard. The robot gets dented and falls. And so he sees the person isn't gonna land safely. So he rushes and grabs them as well. We will further see who this one for all user will be. But I'm not going to spoil it at the moment. I've got an idea for who it is. And it's quite unique. I've never seen it happen so. Let's see how it goes. And so, after saving the one for all user and Urakaka, he takes them to recovery go, and he leaves for the rest of the day. We now skip a week until he gets his letter, and he's in class 1A. And this begins the path of the first quirkless hero, Null. Well, that's chapter 2 done. I really am screwing up a lot. I'm not that good at podcasting, narrating stories, especially without a script. The next story is going to be better because I will take time to write down a script and then just to read it out. The next story is going to be quite concentrated on the first day and what goes on. Until then, see you all later in chapter 3 of Null, the Quirkless Hero.